Are you looking for ways to get your baby or toddler to love reading from an early age? If you're here, then you probably are. So stick around because in today's video, I'm sharing 6 things that you can do from the time your baby is a newborn in order to create a lifelong lover of reading. If this is your first time visiting The Innovative Mama, then welcome. I'm Jess, I'm a former early childhood teacher and a mom to a 1-year-old little boy. I started The Innovative Mama to help moms of little ones navigate the world of early motherhood. So if you'd like to join me on this journey, then please click that subscribe button and the notification bell for more parenting tips, along with fun and educational activities that you could do with your little ones. So before we get into the tips, it's important to understand 5 elements that are crucial to early literacy success. Don't skip this part. It's a very brief overview, I promise. Even though your child won't be doing some of these things for a few years, it's important to understand these different components and how they play into building your child's literacy foundation. So first up is phonemic awareness. This is the understanding that words are made up of individual speech sounds along with the ability to manipulate these individual sounds. For example, the word cat has 3 phonemes, k, at, but so does chat, ch, at, even though it has 4 letters, because ch makes 1 sound. A basic example of a phonemic awareness activity would be a rhyming exercise. So saying to your child, give me a word that rhymes with cat, and they respond, hat. Another thing to note about phonemic awareness is that it has no association with printed letters. It's strictly auditory, which differs from our next element, which is phonics. So phonics involves children learning letter-sound relationships. So eventually your child seeing the letter L and knowing that letter L makes the sound L. That's an example of phonics. So third, we have vocabulary. This has to do with understanding words and their meanings. So this is the element that you'll probably notice soon in your baby and toddler's development, if you haven't already, as they start speaking simple words and understanding what they mean. Number 4 is comprehension. This is simply the ability to understand and interpret a piece of text based on your child's prior knowledge and experience. So when your child's younger, they'll be working on listening comprehension, which is being able to listen and then understand or interpret a text. So for example, when you read a story to your child and then ask them questions about a story, this would be an example of comprehension. As your child gets older and is able to read on their own, their comprehension will develop into more text-based comprehension from what they read on their own. Last up, we have fluency, and this is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Fluent readers read in longer phrases with proper intonation. Being a fluent reader is also a critical precursor to reading comprehension, so for your child to understand what they read. So I didn't want to get too crazy with these concepts today, but I wanted to give you a basic understanding of early literacy terms so that today's tips make a little more sense. So without further ado, let's get into my tips. Tip number 1 is all about building your child's vocabulary. So the best ways to do this when your child's a baby or a toddler are simply by talking, singing to your baby, and obviously reading. So let's explore these a little more. When it comes to talking, 2 great concepts for building vocabulary are narrating and labeling. I talked about these in my video on how to teach your baby to talk, so I'll link that below if you want to check it out after this. But narrating is just simply speaking about everything you're doing with your child or everything that your child is doing. So for example, if your child's playing with their truck, you would say, wow, you're playing with your big blue truck. Labeling is simply saying the name of objects around you. So an example of this is before I give my son his food, I'll say the word of whatever food I'm about to give him and point to it. And he's actually now just starting to be able to say some of the words back to me, which is really fun to hear and to watch him do. These 2 activities expose your baby or toddler to more vocabulary and help them understand early concepts of spoken language, which later will help them become better readers. Singing songs is another great and simple activity to strengthen your child's vocabulary. And if you're singing the same songs repeatedly, this helps your child to remember them even more. So go ahead and sing away. And don't worry if you're out of tune, your baby will love your singing anyway, I promise. So obviously, reading to your child is a great way to help strengthen their vocabulary as well. Even just looking at the pictures and talking about them or labeling is a great activity to do together, which brings us right into our next tip. Tip number 2 is read lots of books. Also read different kinds of books. So think fiction books, nonfiction books, nursery rhymes, magazines, etc. Exposing your child to a wide range of texts will allow them to explore all that reading has to offer. You can also let your baby play with books. You don't have to just be sitting there reading to them word for word every single time. It's important for them to seek out books voluntarily as they build their love for reading and exploring. When you're reading to your child, track the words with your finger from left to right. So start by sliding your finger across the words as you read. Then as your child gets older, start to point to each word individually as you read. I'm a firm believer that it's never too early to at least expose your baby to these concepts. Obviously, you're not going to be expecting them to do them right away, but it's great to at least get them exposed to it. Gradually, this will lead to the early understanding of concepts of print, or recognizing that words are made up of letters and that words have meaning. You can also encourage your baby to turn pages from left to right. Board books are really awesome for this. My son was turning the pages of his bedtime stories from a very young age. So as soon as he was able to grasp objects, we just push the page up kind of and say, turn the page. And he caught on to the concept pretty quickly. You can also point to pictures, label them, talk about them, and encourage baby to point to them too. Tip number 3 is to point out and read environmental print. So this is the text that you find in the world around you, such as on signs, boxes, or labels. This helps to solidify the idea that print and words have meaning, as well as help with expanding your baby or toddler's vocabulary. Another thing you can do, even if your baby is still small, is label things around your house where your child spends a lot of their time. So you can point to objects and the words while verbally labeling them in order to strengthen and build your child's vocabulary and get them familiar with these common words in their everyday environment. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful so far, then please let me know by giving that thumbs up button under the video a quick click. Also, let me know in the comments what reading activities you're currently doing at home with your child. Tip number 4 is to serve as a model for how to read. As a parent, you are your child's first teacher. Their brains are like little sponges that soak up so much information in the early years, and they definitely imitate what they see and hear around them. So be careful. Showing a love for reading yourself will help your child develop enthusiasm and eagerness for reading as well. When you pick out a book to read with your child or you're reading out loud to them, express your excitement over books. Let them see you reading your own books or magazines or newspapers in front of them. Tip number 5 is to keep books in as many places as possible in your home. Make them easily accessible for your baby or toddler, like in baskets on the floor, so they can grab and look through books throughout different rooms of your home. Again, this goes back to what I said about letting baby play with and explore books as much as possible. It's also a great idea to create baskets of books that correspond with each room. So for example, you can leave some books on the topics of potty training or bath time in the bathroom, or books having to do with food in your kitchen. Tip number 6 is to create books together. So this can be a really fun activity, especially as your baby or toddler gets older. So my mom actually got Luke this little photo album when he was a newborn. So we just put all different pictures of him and different members of the family. So even though it doesn't have words, we just use it as a little picture book. So I'll sit down with him and point to each person and say their name. You can find a soft template like this, which is great if you have a younger baby, or you can make your own just out of paper. You can also choose to put words on the pictures or just leave it as a picture book. You can also build custom photo books on photo websites. So one I found recently was pinholepress.com, and they have some really adorable personalized photo books for kids that you can make. So I'll leave a link down below so you can go ahead and check them out, but I really, really love them. They're super cute. Babies and toddlers love seeing familiar faces and places, so creating personalized books with your child, whether at home or from a website, is a really great way to get them excited about reading. As your child gets older, you can create stories together. So you can write the words at first and have them draw the pictures, or even have them pretend to write words, even if the words are just scribbles. Again, these are all things that contribute to early literacy skills for your developing reader. Oral language skills and learning to talk are also big parts of early literacy development, so make sure you head on over to my video on how to teach your baby to talk. You can check that out right up here, or I'll leave a link in the description box. I'd really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up if you got some value out of it, and comment below on which tip you found to be the most helpful, or what you're doing at home to foster your young child's love of reading. Don't forget to subscribe and check out theinnovativemama.com for more parenting tips. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.